Welcome back. You guys found my second video. This is more of an NBA focused video today. If you haven't watched my first video, go watch that. It's a Cold War gameplay. It's not great, but once again, I'm doing my best, okay? So as you can tell by the thumbnail, today I'll be talking a little bit about the NBA, why I'm interested in the NBA, my favorite teams, teams to watch. I've been watching a little bit of basketball here and there, but not as much as I'd like to. I'm going to start watching more. And then storylines of this season. There's quite a few, believe it or not. So let's get right into the nitty gritty. The current situation in the US right now is not great. I'm recording this on January 8th. 2021 has been off to a rough start, to say the least. The US, it's unprecedented what's happening over there. Obviously, I'm not naive, and I know that stuff like that's happening in Canada. Not necessarily to that extent, but it's hard to watch. But that being said, you got to applaud all the NBA players, all the NHL players, professional athletes that are actually voicing their opinions to what's going on in the US. They're trying to use their platform to create real change, which I really do appreciate, because these guys are making millions upon millions of dollars, and they're still, at the end of the day, people. They still have opinions. They still like to voice their opinions. And they won't be suppressed any longer. They won't be just told anymore to shut up and dribble or do whatever the hell. So you got to really applaud that. And at the end of the day, sports is kind of offered as more of a temporary escape from the stresses of life, and usually brings everyone together. Hopefully, after this whole pandemic thing is over, we'll all be able to come together again and enjoy sports the way it should be, all together. All right, so let's get into the NBA talk. So my favorite team currently, favorite team for the last 2 years, has been the Boston Celtics. I love the way they play. I love their coach. Love the whole fan base of the Celtics, the allure of the Celtics, the history of the Celtics. And then the current players they have now, so like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba. Kemba's nasty, man. You have Tristan Thompson. Throw all the drama of the Kardashian curse out the window. He's a good glue guy. Jeff Teague as well. That's a good veteran point guard off the bench. You have Pritchard, you have Nesmith. It's a good group of guys. I hope they can do better than last year. They didn't do horrible. They lost against the Heat in the conference finals, but still, they could have done better. They will do better this year. Jaylen Brown's already going off, which I'd love to see, because Jaylen Brown has been slept on. But yeah, so I love the Celtics. And then the Warriors as well. I love watching them. Now, before I get the hate about the Warriors, don't worry. I'm not a bandwagon fan. I joined in 2013, 2014. And the main reason I did so was because I was actually watching Chris Smoove. So he has a 2K series, or My Career series. And in 2013, 2014, he actually played for the Suns for one season. He won a championship. And then he was like, I got to make a change. I got to move. This is the first time I've done 2 seasons in 1 year. And he ended up going to the Warriors. So they didn't end up trading Andre Iguodala. They kept Stephen Curry. They traded Clay, I think, later on in the year to the Jazz or something like that. But I loved watching that series, and that just made me enjoy the Warriors brand of basketball even more. And then, obviously getting into basketball. The Warriors were a good way to kind of get into the sport. So yeah, I like the Celtics and the Warriors. So shout out to Chris Smoove, man. He got me kind of into the NBA. I still watch his content to this day. He makes the daily NBA videos and occasional NBA 2K My Career videos. But shout out to you, Chris Smoove. So now we're moving on to teams I want to be watching this season. I have 6 of them on my list, and I'm currently looking at the rosters on ESPN.com, just for reference. So I have 3 teams in the East, 3 teams in the West, just to keep it kind of even. Obviously, I'm going to be watching more teams in this, but this is kind of what's had me, or piqued my curiosity, these teams. So we're going to start off with my favorite team, the Celtics. So you got Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker once he comes back from his knee injury, Marcus Smart, who is beloved in Boston, hated outside of Boston. He takes some iffy shots sometimes, but that defensive utility, he's like a Swiss Army knife on defense. He's perfect for the Celtics. Tristan Thompson, who's really good at rebounding. You have Jeff Teague. You have the rookie Pritchard. You have Aaron Nesmith. Their bench is a little lacking. I mean, it's not great, but they do have young guys like Grant Williams, Robert Williams, who can kind of lift up, bring some energy. So yeah, the Boston Celtics are very interesting, and they're on the redemption tour as well, so they're trying to get back to the conference finals, they're trying to get to the NBA finals, and potentially face the Lakers. That would be awesome to see another Celtics-Lakers finals. I mean, obviously for me in real time, just because I haven't really seen any other finals like that, but yeah, so the next team I want to be watching is the Brooklyn Nets. So with Brooklyn, you have KD, Kyrie, ex-Boston player. Hate him, love him for that, whatever. So KD, he's coming back for that Achilles tear that he suffered in the finals against the Raptors. He looks very explosive to start, which is really nice to see. I mean, obviously, you want to wish the best for him, but he's doing pretty well so far. He's balling out. You have Kyrie Irving, who's very controversial, doesn't want to talk to the media. He's going to continually get fined. I mean, I think he's over that now, but so we'll see how that goes. But I feel like KD and Kyrie can kind of balance each other out in terms of their personalities. You have Spencer Dinwiddie, who I think just got injured, which that's a big blow to the Nets. You have Karis LeVert, who's a little bit overqualified for a bench role. Jared Allen, DeAndre Jordan, Joe Harris, the shooter. Other than that, you have a bunch of weirdos on this team, like some other shooters. You got Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, who that's one of my favorite last names in the NBA. Landry Shamet, who's a nice shooter. Taurean Prince. So, I mean, once again, just a bunch of weirdos that can kind of shoot, but looking forward to seeing what the Nets can do this season. Speaking of the Nets, I'm looking at their neighbor, the Knicks. I never thought I'd ever say that, but the New York Knicks are actually very interesting this season. So they have Julius Randle, who's kind of running the show. They're running a lot of post actions with him, having him facilitate the ball, having him handle the ball a lot more than usual. So you're going to see those numbers kind of come up a little bit, like his usage, his points, assists, all that cool stuff. But they're not doing bad. You have RJ Barrett as well, who in his second season, he's shown a little bit of progression. I mean, that outside shot can improve quite a bit there. Obi Toppin, the rookie, who brings a lot of energy, New York native as well. Who else do you got here? Kevin Knox, Nerlens Noel. So, I mean, nothing's really jumping off the page here. Austin Rivers, Mitch Robinson, that's a good one. He can rebound the hell out of the ball. But so once again, I've said this before, a bunch of weirdos. But they're actually playing NBA defense because of Tom Thibodeau, their new coach hire, which is really nice. And they're actually doing pretty well to start off the season. So, I mean, it could just be luck. But I don't want to discourage any New York fans. You guys are doing great. Here's your sticker. Good job. So we're going to move on to the West now. So I have 3 teams in the West once again. So we're going to be starting off with the Dallas Mavericks. So the Mavericks, they got Luka Doncic, they got Kristaps Porzingis, who's once again injured again. So I mean, that is definitely a huge blow to them. They have Jalen Brunson, who in March Madness, I loved watching him at Villanova. I always thought him playing in the post, because he's a pretty beefy guy for 6'1", like he's beefy. So, I mean, playing out of the post with the point guard, that's kind of nice because you can have shooters surrounding. Anyways, that's my whole tangent about Jalen Brunson. Tim Hardaway Jr., you have Boban, one of the most likable players in the NBA. Josh Richardson, I do agree with the trade they made in terms of trading Seth Curry to the Sixers for Josh Richardson. I mean, Seth Curry was a knockdown shooter, so you definitely want to keep that around. But not that Josh Richardson is a slouch when it comes to shooting, but he can defend as well. He can defend the perimeter better than Seth Curry could, right? So you want to surround Luka Doncic with that kind of defensive utility, just because Luka's not the best defender. So that's the mindset they probably went into that trade with. Other than that, nothing really jumping off the page again. They have Trey Burke coming off the bench. Josh Green, that's interesting, off the bench. James Johnson, once again, that veteran presence off the bench. Not a bad team. Not a bad team. So we'll see how far Luka can take them. Next team is the Houston Rockets. So we all know about the Houston Rockets. They have James Harden, who may or may not be there at the end of the season. You have DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall, that reunion there. They actually used to go to Kentucky together. They played college there, college ball. I didn't know this until recently. I watched an interview. I forget who was the interviewee, or interviewer. But they actually were roommates in college. So I mean, it's kind of cool seeing how far they've come in their careers. They've both had struggles. Seeing how far they've come to be able to play on the same team and play pretty decently. They haven't been doing bad so far. So I mean, good for them, best for them, or wishing the best for them. You have Eric Gordon, Christian Wood, who I'm not really sure why the Pistons didn't keep him. That was a very confusing move to me. I mean, you keep him, you like match his restricted offer, and then you trade him like maybe at the trade deadline. That would make sense, right? But it's the Pistons, so they are the complete opposite of making sense. Then you have a bunch of weirdos again. Ben McLemore, PJ Tucker. Nothing really crazy once again. So I mean, team to watch more for selfish reason, just because I want to see them falter, I guess. I don't want to sound negative, but I just want to see what they get for James Harden, because it's almost inevitable that they trade him at this point. I mean, we'll see. The NBA is weird sometimes, but the Rockets are definitely a team to watch just because of that. And then finally on my list, I have the Denver Nuggets. So they're led by Jamal Murray, the Canadian boy. We got Nikola Jokic, the Joker. We got Michael Porter Jr. They're bringing in some other pieces, but losing some pieces as well. So they lost Jeremy Grant to the Pistons, who got overpaid. I'll quite bluntly say it. He got way overpaid, and he's kind of acting like a stat sheet stuffer in Detroit, which, whatever. Get your money. They have Will Barton coming off the bench. Bol. That's interesting. Facundo Campoza. He seems like a cool guy. He has that European flair with the ball. Likes to pass a lot. You have Paul Millsap. I completely forgot about that. He signed the vet minimum, I think. That's $1 million. Yep. Monte Morris. So, once again, they have a good team out there in Denver. But they have been linked to the James Harden trade rumors as well. So we'll see if they make any moves on it. Honestly, I don't think they should. I really don't think they should, just because who you'd have to include in the trade would be more defensive-minded players like Gary Harris, just to make the salaries work. You'd have to include, let's say, Will Barton. I think is expiring. Once again, I don't have the specifics in front of me, but you have to include players like that, and those they're good off the bench, and you definitely don't want to lose that bench depth that Denver has. So I mean, I don't know if it's really worth it to get James Harden, especially when you have Jamal Murray who can't defend, Nikola Jokic that can't really defend. Paul Millsap's not a bad defender, but he's aging, right? So I mean, you have to kind of supplement defense with offense and offense with defense, right? So you have to make sure it's balanced. But yeah, those are my 6 teams. So I got the Celtics, I got the Nets, Knicks, Mavs, Rockets, and finally the Nuggets. In terms of which ones I'm most excited to see, I mean, out of those 6, probably the Celtics or the Nets. I think that would be one heck of a Eastern Conference Finals, the Nets and the Celtics. 1 and 2 seed. I mean, I'm going to assume Boston's going to be the 1 seed, hopefully. Fingers crossed, let's see. But, yeah, so those are my 6 teams. And right here at the end, I was planning to do a storyline of the NBA season topic, I guess. But the video is already running like 14 minutes long at this point, so I'm just going to cut that off, save it for a different video. But I really hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you got a little bit of insight of how I'm thinking about the NBA and what's going on, my favorite teams, etc., etc. But if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like it. Make sure you give me a subscribe as well. I'm going to be producing more content over the next 2 weeks because, again, Canada went into lockdown, so I have more than enough time on my hands. So yeah, make sure you subscribe and then maybe hit that bell notification button as well to get notified when I post new videos. And yeah, thanks. Bye.